All right, y'all. So it is Monday, July 6th, and we are entering our third week of class. This is moving and grooving like no other. So I had a lot of work to do last week. So again, I'm learning how to just set up and structure my days and weeks. So what I made an attempt to do last week was I wanted to get all of my classwork done for the week on Monday and Tuesday. So focusing on one class on Monday and one class on Tuesday. That is not the way. It's not hard. It's just that there's a lot of reading material and I could feel myself getting stressed out trying to get it all done in one day. And so I told myself, this is not how we're going to do it. This isn't going to work. So you're going to have to buckle down and give every day at least 2 to 3 hours, just simply because it's going to be way less stressful like that. And then just doing it in those shorter times will help me to not feel so stressed. You know what I mean? So that's the approach I'm going to take this week. And I also think with that approach, I will have way better success at getting ahead. So my plan last week was to get ahead. However, I had to go to Jersey for NPC Universe to work, and I had some downtime, but of course in that downtime I did not do any coursework. Like, show travel is overstimulating regardless if you are working, if you're just watching, supporting someone, or if you're competing yourself. And due to the early call times, like I wake up either at 3 or 4 a.m. After I'm done working, I am exhausted. I need to try to get some sleep. Like, I'm still in prep trying to eat all the things. So it just didn't happen. However, I came home on Friday instead of Saturday. That was intentional because I just need to get home ASAP so I can get back on my schedule. So it allowed for Saturday and Sunday for me to finish up the rest of my work, and everything was done. So last night, Sunday, I was done with everything for the week, and the due date was actually today. But before we even get into that, I wanted to share something with y'all. This video is coming out way later, but I do want to say thank you to everyone for all the love and support on my video where I did the get ready with me for my last day of Sephora. This year has been quite the pruning year for me. A lot of things have happened. Y'all know. And I'm sorry if you're tired of me saying it, because I'm to the point now where I'm tired of even talking about it, which lets me know that we're coming up out of this thing. You're healed, you're working through it. But of course, closed my salon in October 2024. In January, I applied to be a cosmetology teacher, didn't get the job, could not for the life of me understand why. Like, I'm qualified, but okay, cool, moving on. After that, I decided to try to open up a studio again. Was trying and trying and trying. I had some crazy things happen to me. I told y'all in one vlog where I was literally on my way to go look at one place and I started feeling really uneasy and thought to myself, what if I'm not supposed to be going here and something awful happens to me? I looked down at my phone to turn to the next song and I looked up, I ran a red light and an 18-wheeler almost turned into me. That shook me to my core. And I was like, okay, got it. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I had to put that down to rest. Olivia, I love her. She let me know that she is no longer going to be able to do show travel with me because she's got her own stuff. She's back in school as well. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now I don't have an assistant. I was trying to do a stage plan webinar with Alexis. However, we weren't able to work it out because of the timing, but also that same week I ended up getting the stomach bug. So that didn't happen. Okay, God, whatever. Got it. And then I applied for another job to be the salon spa coordinator, which I obviously have experience with that. I didn't get the job. So at that point, I just said to myself, okay, whatever, let's keep it moving. And then the Sephora thing happened where they changed their policies for flex employees. You have to work on the weekends. It's the season. I can't do that. So I had to part ways. So now as I sit here, I'm just kind of like, okay, God, it is very clear that you are pruning me and you things are shutting down. And it's so interesting that the only thing that does feel right and the only thing that is working is me going back to school. me focusing on these classes. And I just thought to myself, is that why you shut everything down? Because you want me to be focusing on this right now? You want me to be obedient? Because again, when I started feeling the stirring to go back to school, it was July 2024. That's when I applied. That's when I got admitted. And then I just threw my hands up and got scared, right? But anywho, y'all know I am venturing through the Bible in chronological order, and I just finished up Joshua, but there's a couple of things that I highlighted that really spoke to me this morning, and I really want to just take a quick bit of your time to dive into it, okay? So Joshua 22:5. Okay, so what's going on now is it is coming towards the end of Joshua leading the Israelites. And so they have done what the Lord has said. They have made it to the promised land. God said, hey, I need you to go over here, take this land from them. They've done all the things, right? Okay, so now they have divvied up all the land according to the tribes, who gets what portion. So now they are in the eastern tribes returned home. So in 22:5, but be very careful to keep the commandments and the law that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you. Because Moses, when he was turning things over to Joshua, he was just basically letting them know, hey, you about to leave these fools. And when I tell you they are a stiff-necked bunch, they raggedy, they ghetto, they complain, they don't listen, it's going to be a time. And they're probably going to slip up. They're probably going to be disobedient to the Lord. They're going to worship false gods. Pagans are going to marry outside and with people who worship false gods. He's just letting them know. And so that's why Joshua is telling them, but be very careful to keep the commandment and the law that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, to keep his commandments, to hold fast to him, and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. I highlighted this because this is something that I am being very, very mindful of. We can get so stuck on focusing on the wrong things. And when I say, and the things that we focus on sometimes, they're not evil, they're not wicked. But what happens is we can put so much focus on them that we lose sight of, hey, am I walking in obedience to the Lord? Am I keeping his commandments? Am I holding fast to him? Am I serving him with all my heart and with all my soul? It was a reminder. It was a gut check for me. And then moving on to Joshua 23:1, this is Joshua's farewell to the leaders. And it says, after a long time had passed, and the Lord had given Israel rest from all their enemies. And I just kind of sat there, and the Lord had given Israel rest. The things that I highlight are things that jump out of the page to me. And what I have learned is that that's God. That's the word of God speaking to me. The Lord had given them rest. And here's the thing. While I don't understand everything, while I do not have the answers, I do know that when I am in obedience to the Lord, I do have a peace that surpasses my own understanding. Although I do not understand these things, I have a peace. And what comes with that peace? Rest. Rest. So that jumped out to me. And then same chapter 23, verse 2. Okay, so it says, Joshua by then, a very old man, summoned all Israel, their elders, leaders, judges, and officials, and said to them, I am very old. You yourselves have seen everything the Lord your God has done to all these nations for your sake. This is what I highlighted. It was the Lord your God who fought for you. Even when you feel like the Lord's not fighting for you, even when you feel like you're alone, you are not alone. God is always with you. God is omnipresent. What does that mean? He is everywhere at all times. So he will fight for you, and don't you ever forget it. And then moving down to verse 6, be very strong. At the end of Numbers and at the beginning of Joshua, and now again at the end of Joshua, you see, be very strong. Be very strong. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear. Just the emphasis on that, and it keeps showing up. It lets me know that, hey, we are not to walk in fear. We are to be strong and courageous. How are we able to be strong and courageous? Greater is he that is in me. I can't be strong and courageous on my own. I'll hit a ceiling. You know, there's capacity with that. But with the Lord, that is where I get my strength from. Be very strong. Be careful to obey all that is written in the book of the law of Moses without turning aside to the right or to the left. So basically, this right here, stick to this. And then in verse 8, but you are to hold fast to the Lord your God as you have until now. No matter what, stand 10 toes down on God, even when you don't understand, even when you don't feel it, even when you're mad, even when you're glad, when you're happy, stick with him. And then moving on to 24, I'm hopping over to, and y'all read the word for yourself. Don't just take my word, your favorite pastor, your podcast, read it. Read it, because I've noticed the trend right now is just the calling out of the false prophets, and it can just be so it can just be so confusing because they're calling people false prophets, and I'm just kind of like, I go to that church. I've been going to that church for years. It's never given false prophet, and I think sometimes what we fail to realize is pastors are humans too. The issue is people have put pastors on a pedestal. That's the issue. Y'all have put pastors and preachers, evangelists, you put all these folks on a pedestal. So when they make a mistake because they're human, everyone wants to go, oh, they're a false prophet. No, now hold on. There's a difference between someone that is intentionally taking the word of God, being blasphemous and twisting it versus maybe someone who misspoke or just straight up made a mistake and said something they shouldn't said. Not the same. Anywho, that's not what we're talking about today. Verse 24, 12. You did not do it with your own sword. Okay, so now basically in 24, Joshua is giving them a rundown of everything that has happened. Basically, it's God's receipts, right? So he's just reminding them, because what happens is for us, like whenever we get through one season or one trial and then something else comes, because something else is always coming, we tend to forget what the Lord has already brought us out of prior to. God's track record is 10 as a 10. 10 out of 10. He don't miss. He don't miss at all. So therefore, we need to remind ourselves, wait a second, that last time I was down bad, he brought me out, and the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that. So basically that's what he's doing. And he's saying, you did not do it with your own sword and bow. Basically, you ain't all that. The reason why you were able to overthrow all those other tribes wasn't in your own will and right. It was because the Lord, your God, our God, was with you. So I gave you a land on which you did not toil, and cities you did not build, and you live in them and eat from vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. Basically, what he's saying is the Lord gave you this land. And when the Lord blesses you with things and gives you with things, this hit so hard for me, you don't have to toil. That's what I felt like I have been doing so much in my career. I've been toiling, I've been grinding, I've been hustling, and it's exhausting. But when something truly is from the Lord, when you are truly operating in alignment with what it is that he told you, it doesn't say that you're not supposed to work hard, because you are, but what it's saying is you won't have to toil in the wind. It'll just happen. Now, fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. And then the last thing I highlighted here, but as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Amen. Amen. So that was my Bible study for this morning. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that I have learned in class last week and the eye-opening moments that I've had. Okay, class is in session. I'm kidding. I don't know. I use the Bible recap to help me as I journey through the Bible. Now, here's the thing. I'm all good for Bible commentary. There are two that I stand by. So the Bible recap, this is actually the plan that I'm following to read the Bible in chronological order. But like I said in other videos, I'm not trying to read the Bible in 1 year, because there are some things I have to sit with. There are some things I need to process. I travel a lot. There are some days that I miss. And then also there are a lot of times where I just want to read something else. I feel compelled to read something else. Like, my thing is, I don't care. Just do your best to open this bad boy every day. That's my goal. It doesn't matter if I'm following the whatever the case may be, right? And then I also shout out to Allison for sending me this, the Tony Evans commentary. These two are what I use. So this has the Bible reading plan in chronological order, and so it'll tell you what to read it, and then you can go through and it'll give you a recap. This is commentary, so for the whole Bible, if there's something you're reading and you just don't understand it, this is fantastic to have. I also am a firm believer in gathering your own thoughts and opinions, because sometimes I know for me in the past where I think I was consuming too much commentary, and I don't know if it just maybe wasn't the right commentary, but I realized I need to read it for myself first. I need to sit with it, process it, and then, okay, if there's something I don't understand, I'll reach for my commentary. But anywho, so week 3 of class was very interesting. So for one of my classes, everybody has to take it when you're a new student at the school. So it doesn't matter if you are actually on campus or if you're online, it's just the Uni 101. And the things that we were focusing on this week were honestly 2 of the things that the Lord has been convicting me on. And so one of those was time management. I am someone who is a busybody. I am productive. I am always doing all the things. But probably I could say for the past 3, honestly, this whole year, all of 2025 so far, I felt like I have just been working tirelessly, but I'm not seeing the fruit. I feel like I'm just toiling. I'm doing all the things, but then I realize you're not focusing on the right things. Yeah, I'm productive, but am I busy being productive on what it is that the Lord told me I needed to be doing? And the answer was no. Was I doing some of it? Yeah, but the reason why my spirit was so tired and so heavy is because I'm doing things that I used to do, but right now in this season, those things are no longer in alignment with me. So I had to let them go. Like the first start of this was when I made the decision for my YouTube channel that yes, I'm still a beauty pro. Yes, you'll still see some beauty things because that's a part of my life. But as far as sitting down, doing product reviews, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It doesn't mean that you won't see it throughout a video, but just like hardcore, just constant beauty product reviews. Like, no, that's not my portion. We're done with that, right? And so that was a huge eye opener for me that I need to be better about managing my time. And then especially with being in school, I have no choice but to, because this is my number 1 top priority. I have to focus on this. And it's so interesting to me because I've definitely had my opinions on education in the past. I believe in education 100%. I do feel like, college, there is a time and a place, but I also am understanding that the education that I am getting right now, it is worth every single penny, because we're on week 3, and I have had just a spiritual, a mental, and emotional transformation. And I think it's just simply because it's different when you go to school as an adult. Going to school as an adult versus going to school as a young adult in that 18 to 24 pocket, it's different. When you were in your 30s and you go back to school, you've lived, you've made a lot of mistakes, you've learned stuff, and now you just have a sharper mind and you have a better understanding, and so you're more focused, you're more driven, you're just more on point, and that's how I feel. And then the other thing that we were talking about was time management and financial management. This is something that has been a dark cloud hanging over my head. I have been condemning myself for so long for bad decisions, for piss poor financial decisions, bad money management. And I realized, I was like, Amber, yes, for certain areas of your life, the reason why they are the way that they are is because you didn't manage your money properly, but also at the same time, you have cried out to the Lord. You have repented to the Lord. You are making strives to do the right thing. You have to start condemning yourself. And so this portion was just basically financial literacy. And the same thing for the time management and the financial management, it all stems from the Bible. It has a biblical principle. And I just thought to myself, if this stuff was taught in all schools, especially for children, if this was taught in high school, do you not understand how much more equipped young adults would be for the world? If I had this, instead of some of these nonsense other things that they're trying to teach, if I had that as my foundation, as my baseline, Lord have mercy. However, neither here nor there, we are here now. So that's one class. My other class is very fascinating. It is cultural intelligence. And I am someone who has always loved culture. I've always loved language. And I feel like my whole life for the past 11 years has been a cultural intelligence experience, because my husband comes from a different culture. My husband's not American, so I have been immersed in it for 11 years. And then on top of what I do for a living, being a beauty professional, I have an extremely diverse clientele. I always have since I started in 2012. So I had an extremely diverse clientele in salon, as do with working with athletes. I'm glamming athletes from all over the world. So some girls are from South America, Europe, Canada, different countries in Asia. It's quite amazing. So a lot of people, especially for people who come from these really, really small towns, they just have a lack there of cultural intelligence. And it's definitely something that I get secondhand embarrassment very easily. And I get it. You don't know what you don't know. But I do feel like once you reach your adulthood, it is important to go out and to explore, because a lot of people do not understand that. I won't say a lot of people, a lot of Americans, us, we can be so self-indulgent and just so egotistical that we don't realize our view is not the only view. There are billions and billions and billions of people on this earth. And for some reason, a lot of Americans think that the American view is the view, and that is not the case. Other cultures are going to see things differently, and they're going to operate differently just simply because they have a different worldview. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that we're wrong, but you need to be open-minded. You need to understand that the reason why a lot of people from different cultures may think and view things the way that they do is because they're coming from a different part of the world. And so their social norms, their religion, their economic system is just going to be different. So it has been very fascinating. That is what I have been diving into. And so now I'm about to get into week 3. So I don't even know how I am doing these videos. I don't know if it's just going to be one long video. I don't know if it's going to be chopped up into portions. However, that's it. We are logging on. We're getting ready to jump into week 3, and I will touch base with y'all and let you know how that goes. All right, fam. So we are wrapping up week 4 of school. It is actually Sunday, July 20th, and I've got one more assignment to do. I've taken my culture assessment class, and it's broken up into 4 compartments. I don't think I have that in my binder. No. Anywho, it's a cultural intelligence assessment, right? I think sometimes us as Americans, we can forget that it ain't all about us. Our culture is not the only culture. We tend to be the most, I personally believe, just culturally ignorant. Anywho, even for me, for someone who is pretty well cultured and savvy, I still learned a lot, and it made me check some things. So right now I've got one more homework assignment to do, and this homework assignment is actually, whoops, this is the main component of the course because it builds on top of the other assignments for the rest of the course. So we're halfway through. I took my midterm for my other class. I did not get a good grade on it. I tried twice, and I was just like, whatever, girl, like, you can't. I just let it go. But here's what I learned this week: the importance of making sure that I am organized, which I knew, but it's not so much the organizing, it's the prioritizing. So I had a couple of things pop up this week, and so long story long, that is why I'm doing my homework assignment now on Sunday. It's not due until Monday at 11:59. However, I prefer for all of my homework assignments to be done on Sunday. So that way on Monday, it's the start of the new week. We're going into week 5. I can go ahead and focus on that works week versus utilizing that Monday to come in at the 11th hour and finish last minute assignments. I'm not with that. Had some things pop up this week, and now that I look back on it, what I should have done was I should have done a better job at prioritizing my schoolwork. Things are going to be getting very interesting here now for the next 3 weeks because I am getting close to show. Prep is prepping. I am exhausted. I am tired. So it is imperative that I get all of my work done towards the beginning of the week. But something else I've also been doing that has helped me is waking up at 5 a.m. I know, just rock with me. Waking up at 5 a.m., having that 5 to 6 a.m. time to just like wake myself up, to drink my coffee, to read my Bible, to journal, and then doing my schoolwork from 6 to about 8. That first 2 hours, that is when I am the most productive. I've always been this way though, like even like as a kid in high school and then even in college, I tend to do better when it comes to schoolwork first thing in the morning. I was never a night class girly in college, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I need to get all of like my hard brain power stuff or things where I need to really focus. That needs to be done by noon, because once noon comes, my brain expires and I can't do things that where I have to, I'm not saying I can't learn, learn, but it is just better for me. I learn best at the top of the morning, and then tasks that don't take a lot of brain power, do those towards, midday, evening. That's what I've learned about myself this week. So I was a little overwhelmed because just reading the assignment, what I had to do, I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is going to be a lot. Then I started getting anxious because as the week was going on, I hadn't got to it. But once I finally looked over it last night, on top of the reading, this course requires an intense amount of reading. A lot of reading, which I don't mind reading, but I'm just like, yo, this is a lot. This is quite a bit of information, but it's not boring either. So that makes it obviously like sustainable. What was I saying? Prep brain. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I just made myself a decaf coffee here. I was going to do, oops. Well, here's what happened. I had a posing client and I slid into Starbucks thinking I was about to get me an espresso, but they didn't have any oat milk, so I was like, okay, I use oat milk as creamer, but they didn't have any, so I was like, okay, cool, that's my sign that I didn't need that espresso anyway because it is 4:45. So I came home and I made my own decaf, and we're gonna pretend that there's caffeine in here. Maybe I can trick my brain because I was going to decide to take a nap and then get up, but I was like, no, because I want to make sure I get good solid sleep tonight because I have check-ins in the morning. Like trying to balance all of this. Listen, show travel, schoolwork, and prep. Like I'm getting it done. I'm doing it, but yeah, this is new level. So that's a wrap for week 5. I'm sorry, week 4. We're heading into week 5. I can't believe we're halfway through the term. I already know what classes I'm taking next term. However, I'm just kind of like, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous if it's going to be too much of a load. However, I plan to be out of prep before we even reach halfway midterm for the second term. So we should be all right. Okay, I'm rambling. I'm tired.